Welcome to the Contractor Management System training for our supplier community here at ADNOC. Today's session will be an introduction to the Contractor Management System, which is SAP Fieldglass. There will be a demonstration of the SAP Fieldglass product, and then we will follow up with guidance and support, before at the end of this session, a live Q&A section where you can ask questions and get answers to any queries that you may have. So let's make a start with the introduction to CMS or the Contractor Management System. On the back of changes and updates to the guidelines from HSE that were released last year, ADNOC have decided to implement a new system to help manage the onboarding of contractors. As contractors are mobilized for projects, for contracts, for call-off agreements. Part of these changes are specifically focused around medical requirements. For example, medical fitness checks and toxic gas trading, which are both delivered by the ADNOC Technical Academy, and the HSE induction, which is also conducted by the ADNOC Technical Academy. As part of the updates and the changes to the guidelines and the new requirements to have these relevant certifications and training, there is now the need to put in a new system which is SAP Fieldglass to help manage the onboarding of these contractors. In addition to the HSE changes and the updates to the guidelines, there is also a need for ADNOC to put in place a system which will give complete visibility, both to internal stakeholders and business units users within ADNOC, but also for the supplier community as well. The SAP Fieldglass application will give greater transparency and visibility into contractors and where they are within their onboarding or mobilization process. There is the ability to manage and track the performance of active workers as well. We will soon be implementing the ability for you as the supplier to enter timesheets on behalf of the contractors. Whether that's directly into the system or through uploads of spreadsheets into the system, you will be able to submit the timesheet data that in turn will be integrated into the invoice and payment systems here at ADNOC. There will be a reduction in cycle time, and we would expect an improvement in accuracy, so fewer errors as part of that process. As it is moving towards an automated service, as mentioned, there is a greater need now to track and ensure compliance of contractors through these updated HSE guidelines so that workers, when they are fully compliant, are granted an HSE passport. This HSE passport will automatically be generated through the Fieldglass application, and this is then the permission for contractors to access ADNOC sites. So whether that is onshore or offshore, the HSE passport is generated. The HSE passport is then used to give contractors access to site. SAP Fieldglass is a cloud-based solution and allows both internal parties within ADNOC and the supplier community to collaborate more, and to give access to a greater set of data to business users, and also to you as the supplier around the management of these external contractors. As part of the SAP Fieldglass process, the Contractor Management System process, you will first need to register your supplier account in the application. Once you have registered moving forward, contract award notifications will be sent to you, allowing you to mobilize your workforce. So there will be notifications sent to you, allowing you to start the mobilization process. You will then be able to complete and create a profile for your workers, and then follow the necessary steps needed as part of the mobilization to ensure that contractors receive the correct trading certificates, undertake the correct medical fitness test. The system then will allow for management of access cards for people to get on site, and also for user account creation to enable access to ADNOC networks. The end result being where workers are onshore or offshore, an HSE passport is automatically generated, and will be managed directly through the Fieldglass application. And as mentioned previously, timesheets can then be submitted, following work that's been completed. In addition to timesheets, there will also be, as today, an existing ability in the process to charge for services where it is deliverable-based or fixed-term costs. So as part of these mobilization steps that are required for each contractor, these steps are driven based on the scenario that is relevant for the individual. Where a worker is accessing onshore sites or offshore sites, there are then further steps that need to be taken around training, around certification and around medical fitness tests, as you can see on these onboarding scenario sequences. Where contractors are accessing our HQ sites at ADNOC or even working remotely, with the need for network access. These onboarding steps and scenarios will take you through the actions that you will need to undertake. These scenarios are pre-built in the Fieldglass application. So once you have selected the relevant and correct scenario for your contractors, the system will guide you through the rest of the steps that you need to complete. We will now be going through the Fieldglass demonstration. This will take you through accessing the SAP Fieldglass system, navigating through the various pages, and showing you some useful tips for navigation. We will also be showing you how to manage your workforce, that is tracked and recorded within the application. We'll go through the mobilization phase, adding workers to the system, following onboarding activities, and steps that need to happen. And then, finally, assigning your contractors to projects or to call-off agreements, so that you can track any subsequent work that's completed, either through timesheets or through fixed-term costs. So we will now go into the system and start the demonstration and complete the relevant activities and tasks you need to complete as the supplier. Welcome to the Fieldglass application. This is the home page that you will land upon when going through the SAP Ariba Business Network Gateway. Once you're in the SAP Ariba Business Networks, you will see the application gateway, and having registered successfully and created your profile in Fieldglass, you'll be brought here directly to the Fieldglass homepage via single sign-on. So, I'm going to give you some high-level information regarding the Fieldglass application and navigating through the system. First of all, you'll see on the left-hand side, the navigation pane. From here you can interact and drill down into a list of documents. These statements of work are your mobilization and call-off agreements. We can look at the list of workers. These will be in the workforce section. If you have provided a list of workers to the data validation team, the workers will be preloaded as part of the deployment. So you'll see in here a list of your contractors. And also you'll be able to see, for instance, if you go into either the worker or work order records, where you have contractors engaged in call-off agreements, you are able to track their progress accordingly. You're able to see at a high level who these individuals are. You're able to see what status they're at within the process of mobilization or the call-off agreement. If they're pending approval, it means that there are likely still activities that need to be completed in order to mobilize successfully. Once this has happened, you'll see them move into a confirmed status. It could also be that the mobilization hasn't been completed successfully. Maybe there is an issue with some of the compliance documentation. In this case, you'll then see that the contractor has been rejected for that mobilization or for call-off agreement. On this page, at a high level, you're able to sort, you're able to search, and you're able to see who these contractors are, what agreements they belong to. Are they fully compliant or still pending approval? You can see the dates that they are assigned to contracts. As part of going through this mobilization, you'll be able to track the individuals directly within your contractor list, or alternatively, if we go back to the home page, we're able to track the activities that are needed in order to complete mobilization for a worker through this work item section. In the My Work Items section on the home page, you will see all of the activities, or to-do list, of things that you need to complete in order to progress your workers' mobilization. Whether that's onboarding items or activity items for your workers, you can drill down and you can complete the necessary actions and activities. We will cover this aspect in more detail during the training. You're also able to access this work items menu from the top right-hand corner. So you're able to go in and see the same list again and drill down into more detail if you click on the links. Let's continue with this navigation overview. In the navigation page, on the left-hand side, you're also able to see here the admin section. Once you click into this, it will take you into some of the admin configuration features available to you within the supplier account. One of these items is to add new users. From here, you're able to add a new user and link them to your user account in Ariba. There are specific training documents available to you for this in the Supplier Hub if you need a step-by-step instruction on how to add new users. Finally, on the navigation page, you'll find the Help icon. And from here you can link to the reference library. Within the reference library, we have stored all of the documents and learning guides needed to perform activities within the Fieldglass application. So these are step-by-step instructions detailing the actions that you'll need to take within the process for either mobilizing your contractors, for assigning them to call-off agreements, for completing the relevant activity items, whether that be for HSE or for training or certification. We encourage you to use the reference library as a first port of call for assistance with completing activities. This is also complemented by the Supplier Hub, where you'll be able to access and see relevant training guides as well. Also, during the process, for example mobilizing a worker or adding a new contractor, we have embedded documents and support guides that will help you through that process. You'll see more of those coming as we go through the training. Finally, on the home page, just before we finish this overview, you can see these different dashboards. This is your opportunity to configure the home page, and you're able to select which dashboard items and widgets you see. You can use this home page to show you the information that's relevant to you. This view is down to your own configuration of the page, and is up to you to manage. Now we're going to take a look at the mobilization process of this contractor management system. From the home page I can go into the services navigation on the left-hand side and click into my statements of work. From here, you'll be able to see a list of the mobilization SOW that have been assigned to you by ADNOC. You will now be able to add your contractors against one of these mobilization SOW to begin the necessary steps to onboard your contractors and ensure that they are compliant and ready to be assigned to a call-off agreement. For now, let's take a look at the mobilization process. I'm going to select one of my mobilization SOW. You'll see, when you click into this, it's very high-level information at this stage because this is just for mobilization purposes. If you had already assigned workers to this mobilization SOW, you'll be able to click into the SOW worker page and see those contractors. But as for this example, we're starting afresh. We don't currently see a list of those individuals. We'll add a contractor to this SOW and you'll then start to see that list building up. The action that I need to take now is to go to the top of the page, click on the Actions button and select Add SOW Worker. Once I do this, it takes me into the simplified process of adding a contractor to the mobilization SOW. I would like to call out at this stage that, as you go through Fieldglass, you'll see these different guidance sections. Where possible, we're adding guidance and instruction on what you need to do and how you need to complete these specific fields and sections. You'll also see embedded videos and training guides that will help you complete these activities. Now, I'm going to follow the page down, and we'll complete all of the relevant fields. Any field that is mandatory will have a red asterisk, and those are fields that we need you to complete. Where the field is optional, we ask you to complete as much as possible, where you have that information available. So if we go into the first field that we need to fill, which is location, we'll select one of the onboarding scenarios from here. As part of choosing or adding the worker, you will choose the relevant scenario that applies to this contractor. And this is based on the location of where they're working, the method of transport if they're working in offshore locations, and whether they need site access or network access, for instance if they're just working in an HQ building. So you see as well this pop-up text that's helping to guide you through this process of completing the fields. For now, I need to go through and select the relevant onboarding scenario. So for instance, if I have a contractor that is working on shore, and they're going to require site access and support through the ADNOC Technical Academy. That's the selection I'm going to make. And now automatically, those relevant mobilization steps will be assigned to the contractor, and you'll then get instruction on the tasks and activities that you need to complete. So first of all we select the onboarding scenario. This then assigns the relevant mobilization steps, and we can now move through the rest of the fields and populate accordingly. The next thing we need to select is the role. Because we're using a mobilization SOW, at this stage, we're just getting the workers to a point where they are compliant. We don't select the specific role that they're going to be undertaking. For mobilization, all we need to do is select ADNOC Contractor, which is the top option in the drop-down list. From here, we move down the page, and we need to complete relevant pieces of information. If you have provided your contractors to us as part of the deployment steps, you can click into your existing workforce and add a pre-populated contractor into this mobilization SOW. You'll be able to search for the contractor, select them, and the fields that you're seeing here will be pre-populated, because the profile for the individual has already been created. For the purpose of the training, I'm going to take you through the steps where we need to complete these different fields, and update the information accordingly. If I click into each of these fields again, you'll see a pop-up that tells me what information I need to populate. Then we'll carry on through, ensuring that we've completed all the necessary steps to add this worker's profile, and start that mobilization process. As I click into here, we get a pop-up telling us the information that we need to complete, and then, As we scroll down through these individual fields, again, we get further information. We're asked to populate the start and the end date. So, this needs to be within the date parameters of the mobilization SOW, but more specifically it needs to be the dates where your contractor is going to be available to complete work on ADNOC sites. You will scroll through, pick a date in the future for when this contractor is going to be available, and then we can proceed through the remaining fields. Please can you add in here your contractor's email address, where you have one. If you don't have the email address, because it's not known to you, then please can you include your company email address. So please add your worker's email, and if not, add your own or the person responsible for that individual within the supplier organization. Next field we have is the security ID. So this is a unique identifier that will allow us to track contractors as they return to ADNOC and avoid creating a duplicate record for any individuals. The system will pick up any duplications and flag them to you as you complete the worker record. There is a pop-up help text that appears with instructions on how to create the security ID. For UAE residents, you will use the Emirates ID number, so that's the 15-digit Emirates ID number. For visitors, and for remote workers, as you can see in the pop-up text, you will use the Visa Unified number, or the worker's passport number. And in those scenarios you'll need to precede the number with zeros in order to make up a total of 15 digits. For the purpose of demonstration I'm going to add my Emirates ID number. We then need to copy and paste that into the confirm security box below. And then once we submit this, if this worker had been submitted before, it will flag and prompt us to check that we are not duplicating contractors within the system. We then need to go through the remaining fields, and select the appropriate values accordingly. So, based on where the worker is going to be working, we will select the worksite. We confirm marital status, blood group. This is all information that is needed as part of compliance or health and safety, so please ensure that the correct details are captured for individuals. You'll notice that where we have a drop-down field, where there are a larger number of values, that you can start typing and narrow down the selection. This will help you to speed up the search. We'll just finish off completing these remaining fields on the page. Where things may not be applicable, you can either pass on or type in NA. Now, for job titles, for instance, if I were to start typing, it brings up a filtered list. I can select from the options it's showing me, and then I can move forward through these remaining fields. Job type. This will either be project-based or timesheet. So if your contractors are going to be submitting time and you're going to be then billing ADNOC based on time-based activities, you'd select timesheet. If you are charging for set fixed deliverables or fixed term cost, then it will be project-based. So the selection here is defined by the relevant details of your agreements with ADNOC. And then finally, just a couple more fields such as contact number, before we proceed. Because this is a mobilization SOW, there's nothing further for me to complete. So let's recap. We're creating that profile. We've assigned the onboarding scenario back at the top of the page when we selected the location. That then is all we need to start triggering the activities and the steps in order to get your contractor compliant and ready to assign to a call-off agreement. I'm now going to select Add, now that I've finished and I'm happy with the information entered. If we have any errors or there's any warnings, that will be flagged to us. You will see a success message and Fieldglass will add the worker profile to this mobilization SOW, and we can see here now that we have a contractor assigned to the mobilization. They are now pending approval. We can then go and see details of this individual, and see further information and start to manage the onboarding steps required to make this worker compliant. So I can click into that individual here and we can go and see the steps needed. If you remember, I mentioned from the home page, you have your work items and, within that, your worker activity items that require your action. If I was to click into this now, I can drill down and see a list of all of the contractors with activities that we need to complete. You can see that this is the contractor that I just created, and it's automatically generated this work item asking me to complete the relevant steps and activities needed in order to onboard this worker successfully. From here, I can follow the instructional text. I can upload the attachment as requested and I can mark this as complete. But before we do that, I'm actually going to click into the worker record itself. And from here, you're able to see that we added this contract a moment ago, and then it has all of the information that we populated to build out the profile of this individual. And if we click on the Activity Items tab at the top, It will then take us to the necessary steps needed in order to successfully onboard this contractor. I will call out at this stage that, as you can see, they're all sat in a pending status, which means they haven't been completed yet. The action description is shown, as is the actor under responsible by. You'll see here that for most activities, the responsibility is with you, the supplier. But we also have a team within ADNOC who will verify these documents to make sure everything is correct. And you'll also see where we have integrations into other ADNOC systems, so for instance here, the ADNOC Technical Academy. Once the worker has completed their onshore induction and the H2S training, the system will automatically update to confirm that it has been completed, and attach the relevant information. If we go back to the first one and we click into this, we can then see on the pop-up further information of what we need to do. In the description box, it will give us clarity on the information we need to complete. So here, it's asking me to upload an attachment. From here I can choose a file, I can go in and select the relevant documents. I can attach this, and I can then select that mark as complete option. I can see where my document has been attached. I'm able to view it if needed, so if I mark it as complete, we're now telling or updating the system that the activity that's been requested has now been completed. You will not change the completion date. You will, however, have to enter the expiration date as applicable, dependent on the document you are uploading. You'll see in the text at the top, when uploading a medical fitness document, there are specific guidelines to follow with regards to the expiration date. Please take note of these guidelines. Expiration dates are used to send you a reminder to upload new documents when the previous version has expired. It is important to enter these correctly to ensure that you receive the reminders. We populate the dates, and we click Mark as complete. You'll then see that this activity item has turned green and shows as complete. So you'll complete all of the required activities. These will be verified and approved by ADNOC teams and by the system integrations. Once all required steps are complete, your worker will gain the necessary accesses and documents such as the HSE passport. The HSE passport contains all of the details and confirmation of the training, the certification, and the compliance activities that have been completed for your contractor. Just as a call out while we're on this page, we also have offboarding items. When contractors come towards the end of their assignment, there are prompts here for the ADNOC representatives to complete evaluations. There's a medical evaluation process completed by the doctors. And then you're able to update and confirm these records. So just to recap on this page, where the actor shows as supplier account, it's your responsibility to ensure these activities are completed in a timely manner and that the relevant documents and training records are attached. We will now take a look at how to assign a contractor to one of the call-off agreements. From the home page we can click on Services, and then Statement of Work. We'll see a list of the call-off agreements that have been assigned to you. You're able to see basic information, and then if we drill down into the details of this call-off agreement, you're able to see further information, such as the budget, the PO number, and you can see the purchasing department as well. You may also be able to see further details in the description related to the project deliverables and the service delivery agreement. Our next step from here is to assign a contractor to this call-off agreement. We will start that by clicking on the Actions button at the top right-hand side, and then add SOW worker. This process is the same as when we started the mobilization of a contractor. But this time we're going to be confirming details and assigning the contractor into the call-off agreements. So first of all, as we go down the page, we're able to confirm the location. And again, this will be selected based on the scenario that's applicable for this individual, according to the call-off agreement details. We can check the site that's already selected to verify that information. And then we can select the specific role that this contractor is going to be assigned to. So for instance, in this call-off agreement, we only have a certain number of roles available to us. These are the roles that are available against the agreement, so this will be part of the service delivery terms that you've agreed with ADNOC. I'm going to select this role. And now, when we get to the section around rates and timesheets, we'll be able to populate that information based on this specific role that we've selected. The next thing for me to do is to assign a worker. Just to say at this stage, if you have a new contractor that hasn't been through the mobilization process prior to assigning them to the call-off agreement, you can add a new worker in here. and they will follow the relevant onboarding steps just as they would if you'd pre-mobilized them. Please be aware that there might be a slight delay in them being available to complete this work, as the onboarding steps will need to be completed ahead of their start date. But in this example, we're going to select a contractor that's already been through the mobilization process. So we know that they are already compliant and they are ready to start work. We will click here into this existing workforce button, and then we have an option, is this existing worker record active? And we will select yes, because we know that they have already been through that mobilization process. We select continue, and then we'll select from the list of individuals. Here, I don't have a large list of contractors. But if you have a large workforce and you wanted to search, you can do so using the filter options at the top. I'm now going to select the individual that I'd like to assign, and then we'll progress. We'll update the details for this worker's profile as part of the call-off agreement. And you can see already that the details have been pre-populated. So the information is already tracked and saved from the mobilization, and the profile setup already completed. You will notice that the first thing we need to do here is to confirm the start and end date. So this will need to be the specific dates that the contractor is going to be on site and completing their work. If you do not select these dates accurately, there will be an impact on accesses such as network and site access. So let us select the start date for this individual and then we'll select the end date. So when they're going to be finishing their assignment, in this example I will put it for a couple of months. And then as we scroll down we can see the majority of information and fields have already been pre-populated. As we've already created the profile and been through the mobilization steps with this individual. All we need to do now is go through, make sure everything is still accurate and correct, and update accordingly if needed. And remember, if it's a mandatory field you'll see a red asterisk, which means that you will need to populate that field before moving on. The next section we get to is the rates. And that's based on the role that you have selected at the top of the page. All we need to do now is confirm the rate that's been requested, and move through these different rate options ensuring to populate each of the requested fields. As we progress further down the page, we will need to confirm the timesheet start date. We can check the start date and we can confirm and select that option. So 1st of January in this instance. You'll notice that you can't select dates outside of that start and end date range. Please ensure that you're selecting the correct start date at the beginning of the assignment. This will allow the timesheets to be generated, which you will then submit on behalf of the contractor. There's nothing further for me to populate at this stage, so I can select Add, and then I am presented with a confirmation that the worker has been added successfully. And we can see here that now the contractor is in a pending status for the assignment dates applicable to this call-off agreement. Underneath that, we're able to scroll down and see further details about the roles and the rates that are assigned and associated with this call-off agreement. So once the contractor has been added successfully, we're able to track their progress and ensure that any further actions taken are recorded. The worker will now be able to access the site, and you'll be able to start submitting timesheets on their behalf. If there are any further onboarding activities that need to happen, so if there's something that was missed from the mobilization phase, or if the contractor was added as a new record directly into this call-off agreement, you'll once again be able to track the items that you need to complete underneath this worker activity, items requiring action. So that's how we assign a previously mobilized contractor to a call-off agreement. We're selecting from the existing workforce, we're populating the details around rates and around the role, and we're validating that the information stored on that profile is accurate and correct. If for any reason, there are any subsequent steps that need to be taken for onboarding, you'll be notified and you'll be able to track that through the work items assigned to that particular contractor. For guidance and support, as we deploy and implement this new process and this new system, there are various methods of support available to you. We will be hosting the videos, the learning material, guides, FAQs, within the Fieldglass tool itself, and you'll be able to also access these documents in the Supplier Hub. When you log into the Supplier Hub, you will then be able to see all of the documents that are available to you and access those accordingly. For user support, you can contact us directly in the Supplier Hub. You'll be able to submit a ticket, which will then be tracked and monitored, and our support teams will be able to respond to those and give you the necessary support needed. Finally, if you have any questions specifically around the technical training or certifications that are required, on the mobilization steps or the onboarding sequence, you're able to view further information on the ADNOC Technical Academy website, or contact the Academy directly using the contact details on screen. I'm now going to hand over to the team for the live Q&A section of this session. Please feel free to raise your hand and ask your question. You can also enter questions into the chat box of this meeting. This recording will also be made available on the Supplier Hub, if you would like to watch it again or share with your colleagues.